Hello again, guys. Back with a VERKERK Volvo build. I think we're at part 17, and again leaving where we left off, and we're coming here to parts 29A and 29B. Now it's basically all we're going to be doing is gluing up some air tanks. So I've got my bits and bobs here, all filed off, cleaned, ready for some glue. One thing I do need to do, where it's blue, where it's showing you where to stick, I'm just going to have to go off and rub up all them edges just to rough it up a bit, just so I get a better bite with the glue. I want the glue to bond as strong as possible within this truck. And it's a case of letting that set and then installing those tanks somewhere there on the chassis. I'll figure it out when we get to it. And then it looks like the next bit is starting to build up the fifth wheel for the actual chassis itself. Yep. And then that was it. Then on to more tanks. So we're basically just sticking these tanks together. Just run my glue everywhere it says on the manual in blue. A little dab on those pips there. Glue's on the inside there, so you don't need to worry about making a mess. It's this one you need to be careful with. I'm just lining those two holes. I'm just going to clamp that together before I stick the edges on, and then that can just set for a moment. And the same process on the smaller tank. And another clamp. So coffee time, and I'll be back to stick them, and then probably coffee time again. I love coffee. And then we can get these bits put onto the chassis. Right, now when installing these end caps to the tanks, there is a correct way and there is a wrong way. Now if I flip those over, if you look around that end cap, now two of these is, well, they're all the same. There's two like this and two basically like that, which I'll explain. This one has a complete round lip, same as that one for the other tank, and this one has a round lip with two grooves taken out of the other end, so that will just slot onto there over the grooves. Same on that tank. Now take note of that, because you don't want to end up gluing the end cap with the holes into the flush edge like so, because once that's glued in you may make a mess or even break it trying to unglue it if you realise you've put it in wrong, and then that won't go in there. However, worst case scenario, if that's what you do, then snap those pips off and give it a little file out from inside, and then your end cap will sit flush again. So same again, I'm just going to run some glue on these and then stick those onto the ends of there on both tanks, and then I can let those set again. So once the tanks have set, taking these two little pieces, there's 4 holes there on the tank, and by putting some glue on the pips there and then just sink them into the holes, and same for that one, like so, and they'll glue into place there. Now we have the tanks. We're just going to screw this little piece up under here, again using tiny little minute fiddly little nuts, bolts and washers designed for borers. Then once you've got them tightened up, not too tight, but just then give them a little finger tighten, and then that's the box. Now then, the next part for this box is to glue this onto there like so. So there is a lip there, so it will sit up to a certain point. So, where's my little file? I just scuff off the bottom half a smidge. And in there, so that's the 2 tanks and this tray, whatever this is going to be used for, we shall find out. I am going to come back and continue in this video, but I'm just going to let these go off properly and let all that glue harden off, and then I can come back and proceed to fix all these to the chassis. So this smaller tank, looking at it, we're going to be gluing these pips here and the little like bracket itself bit, and it's going to be coming up behind those brackets on the side of the chassis there. So I'll try and show you here. So going off the one with the 1 nut, and then this is going to come up behind that and then glue into those 2 holes. It's not an easy build. It is as you're thinking a lot, but then again it's completely different from a Tamiya build. You get all the details that you don't get with a Tamiya. Now if this was a Tamiya chassis, you'd just have your metal rails, you'd have your front and rear axle, suspension, what have you, which is the same on all the Tamiya trucks, and they will just bolt into certain holes, and then your tanks. Whereas this, it's, I mean, look at it. If you built a Tamiya, you'll see how much more there is to this chassis compared to the Tamiya chassis. However, with a Tamiya chassis, you can actually get out and use it and play with it, because it's a strong truck. It's like bolted together rather than glued together, a lot of it, and I don't know, they've got working suspensions, so your options are more open for having fun with a Tamiya truck, i.e. going out and running them, whereas these are, they're more a shelf cleaner build, I'd say. But it is what it is. It's a nice truck, don't get me wrong, but I like to use my trucks and get out and play with them, and the more I'm building this, I'm thinking I ain't never going to use it. So anyway, I'm going to get that stuck onto there, as I just showed, and then the next tank, this one just bolts onto the back here. And then this tray is, I do believe it looks like it's going to sit within the chassis there, like so, and bolt the tank together with it. So now to put this final bit in there, tank, those two holes, again that's just going to go over the back of these screws here. And using these little XV150 bolts. And remember to tighten, but not over tighten. So that's the tank fitted to the back, and one there on the inside of the chassis. You can just make that out there. Now I'm not sure what this is going to be, because there is another tray that sits over the top of this, so it just seems a bit small if it was like to put a receiver in or something. I just can't figure out what that might be for, so that will be revealed later on in the build. But it's surprising little by little just how this thing's coming together and the level of detailing. It's like building a real truck. I mean, if some of you guys have built the 124 Italeri kits before, then you'll be familiar really with this build. It's just a scaled up one of those, which can be adapted for RC. But anyway, that's that for that one. Quick simple one. Next, moving on to the fifth wheel in the next video. 30A, 30B and 30C. So we'll get that all installed on there for the next one. And that's a lot of nuts and bolts. I wouldn't mind, but it's how small these are. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Do feel free to drop us a like, drop me a comment, and if you're not subscribed, do subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Ciao for now, guys.